Well, we have a great morning planned. Today we're going to be in week 3 of our series Undefeated. I've got coffee with me already, so it's a good day. Plus, we have Andrew Hurst with us here for worship, so let's get rolling. Hopefully this week you have had the opportunity to laugh. I know Bree and I have been laughing a whole lot because we've been looking through TikToks. It's been incredible being on TikTok. It's probably my favorite app right now because it's so funny, it's so fast, and it's absolutely amazing. We also have a movement TikTok as well. If you guys haven't checked it out, go check it out. But hopefully y'all have gotten the chance to laugh. I know we've been doing some things that we wouldn't normally be doing during this quarantine, like exercising, like running. My wife and I have been running probably since November, December, but we really ramped up our miles since this quarantine started. So normally we ran about a mile. Now we're running 3 to 4 miles a day. When I started, I hated it. I hated it. It was absolutely awful for us to be able to go running. It was horrible. I hated it. It was nasty. As a matter of fact, when she brought up the idea of running for exercise, I was falling back on the advice of the late, great Charles Barkley. Those of you who don't know him, he was a tremendous NBA player, had a great career, and then when somebody asked him what he was doing after he retired to stay fit and in shape, because he used to play basketball in the NBA at a very high level, he said, "I don't lift weights because they're heavy. I don't run because it makes me tired." And when I heard that, I was like, that's it. That's my life philosophy. That's incredible. I wanted to put it as my Instagram bio. I thought it was brilliant. But we did start running. And when we did, it wasn't pretty at all. I couldn't breathe by the time I got to the end of the driveway. Now, intellectually, in my mind, I knew how to run. I knew how to do that. I knew, because I was trained on how to run, I could move my arms correctly. I would breathe in through my nose and out through my mouth. I understood how to run, but I still didn't like it. It was still difficult for me. And go ahead, raise your hand and say yes if you like to run and you're an absolute crazy person, or go ahead and say no if you don't like to run and you're like, that's ridiculous. Why would you do that unless you're being chased? But here's what was happening. Because of my poor technique, because of my unpracticed, untrained body, because I wasn't training right, I was being held back from being the runner that I could be. Make no mistake about it, movement. There are things in our lives, in my life, in your life, that hold us back from being the person that we want to be, from being and living the life that God wants us to live. And the Bible calls those things sin. He calls those things sin. Sin is the hang-ups, the bad habits, the stuff that we know our life would be better off without, and God says our life would be better off without. It's those things. So we have to come up with a plan. We have to have a battle plan on how to defeat sin. How do we defeat it? How do we do it? And it says in Hebrews chapter 12, I'm going to read it here for us, and then we're going to talk about it a little bit. It gives us that roadmap on how to defeat sin. It says, "Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a huge crowd of witnesses to the life of faith, let us strip off every weight that slows us down, especially the sin that so easily trips us up." That's our big question. What's the stuff that trips you up? What's the stuff that trips you up? And it goes on to say, "Let us run this race with endurance, the endurance that God has set before us." How do we do this, though? We do this by keeping our eyes on Jesus, the champion who initiates and perfects our faith. Because of the joy awaiting him, he endured the cross, disregarding its shame. Now he is seated in the place of honor beside God's throne. Think of all the hostility he endured from sinful people. Then you won't become weary and give up. Moving, that's our battle plan. Since Jesus defeated sin by keeping his eyes on the prize, his relationship with his Father, our rescuing, he kept that right on the forefront of his mind. That's how he defeated sin. Now our job as followers of Jesus is to follow Jesus. And that sounds really cool. It sounds tweetable. It sounds like really trendy to say. And we're going to get into actually how to do that later in the message and in groups as well. But what I want to ask you right now is this. What trips you up? What trips you up? Is it maybe a lack of a love for others? Is it fighting with your siblings? Is it a short temper? Is it self-destructive habits? What trips you up? Movement, I know that we have things on our mind right now. Things and habits that our life would be better if we didn't have. And those are the things that because of Easter, Jesus has set us free from. But there's still two parts to overcoming those things. There's still two parts. And those two parts are this. It's asking and it's acting. Jesus demonstrated that for us when he was on earth. Whenever he would be tempted, he would ask his Father, hey, help, I need help with this. Whenever he would perform a miracle or be in a tight scenario, he would ask his Father for help. He would ask God for help. We're to do the exact same. Because it sounds cool to keep our eyes on Jesus, but unless we know what that means, it won't do us any good. It won't do us any good. So the first part to overcoming sin, ask. Ask God for help. Hey God, I know that I have a Zoom class coming up today and I don't like my teacher. God, help me participate in it. God, I know I have hard homework coming up. Help me want to study for it. God, I know that we're in close quarters with my family right now. Anybody else a little too close to your family? Go ahead. No, wait, don't comment yes if you're too close to your family. But we have things in our life where maybe people are pushing our buttons and we're responding sharply. The first part to defeating sin the way Jesus did is asking, God, help me with this. Asking your small group leader, help me with this. I don't know what to do because movement, if we could have done it by now on our own, we would have. We would have. If we could have been the person we wanted to be, by now, we probably would have. So first part, ask. Second part is act. Act. Go back and work on the problem. Oftentimes, I find myself and I see others simply asking, hoping that the problem goes away, hoping that I get better. But what we need to do is act on it. God gives us advice from a small group leader. God gives us advice from a parent. We need to take that advice and then go act on it. Mom, Dad, I give you permission, small group leader, I give you permission that if you see me being short-tempered with my brother or my sister or even myself, call me on it. Help me see that. Help me follow Jesus the way I'm supposed to follow Jesus. Help me defeat sin in my life the way Jesus defeated sin in his life. Because since Easter happened, Jesus' resurrection, the power of sin is dead. Now we just need to ask for help and act on it. That's our big idea for today, movement. We're going to defeat sin by following Jesus, asking our leaders, asking God for help, and acting on what they have to say.